All right. Before we get started, I'll call the meeting to order. Before we get started, let's introduce everyone. I'm Sandy Brock. When I call your name, please confirm that you can hear me by verifying that you are present, starting with the commissioners. Travis,
Present.
thank you. Jonathan,
Present.
Amira.
Present.
All right. We'll go staff. Leah
I'm here.
and Jan.
Present.
All right, great. All right, this open meeting of the Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely via Zoom pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order, as most recently extended on March 29th, 2023. Access information for the public has been provided on the town website. This meeting is being recorded. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. This is done on the phone by pressing *6. As chair, I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. Please note that you will not have screen sharing privileges, but staff can display any visuals per your queue. During periods of public comment, participants must use the raise hand icon in the Zoom menu bar to indicate they would like to speak. This is done on the phone by pressing *9 and then pressing *6 to unmute when you are called on. Participants who raise their hand will be recognized one at a time and will be promoted to speak. Finally, each vote taken will be conducted by a roll call vote. As a reminder, the Commission is concerned with state and town wetlands and stormwater regulations. Concerns outside of this purview need to be addressed to the appropriate boards. For example, road conditions must be addressed with select boards, and traffic concerns must be addressed with the planning board. All right, Leah, where would like to stop? Right to start at the top? No,
Well,
that's 7:10.
7:10.
Okay.
Yeah. So action items.
Yep.
Minutes are fine to take first.
Okay. So does anyone have any comments, questions, or recommendations for changes for the minutes that were? So it's minutes for January 7th, 2025. And minutes for February 18th, 2025. Does anyone have any comments or questions on these? All right.
I did not.
Okay. Not having any comments or questions on them, do I have a motion to approve those two meeting minutes?
I'll move to approve the meeting minutes from January 7th and February 18th, 2025.
All right,
Second.
second. We got a motion, a second, roll call vote. Travis,
Yes.
Mira,
Yes.
Jonathan.
Yes.
I am also a yes, the motion carries. I now can close these two here. Okay. Other action item, conservation restriction.
Yeah. So if you guys remember, someone from the Greater Worcester Land Trust came to us a few months ago, talking about 45 Creeper Hill Road, which previously we knew to be proposed to be a single family house lot, but they couldn't seem to be able to move forward with that. So then they approached the town, asked if the town wanted it to connect into open space. But the way the lot is laid out, we would have had to do our own like wetland impacts, replication, stormwater, a little bit, a retaining wall, just to get in there and have like a little parking lot to make it a trailhead for open space. So we passed, but the Greater Worcester Land Trust was looking at it to be like a neighborhood connection into the adjacent open space. So they don't think they'll need to go as intense with like parking lot and stuff like that. So they thought it was doable if they owned it. And in order to pursue the purchase, they have to put a CR on as it's a requirement of their funding mechanism. So then they came and asked if we would hold the CR, and we said we were interested. They've now drafted it. I had town council review it, and there weren't any issues. They've also been working with EEA on it, and they don't anticipate any issues there. So it needs our acceptance, and they also provided us a draft baseline report to go hand in hand with it. So it's all ready for acceptance this evening. It is also before the select board this evening because they have to sign off as well.
So would you like to just say what EEA is, just for those who may not know?
Energy and Environmental Affairs.
All right, so it's a state agency. And
Yep.
then as far as the conservation restriction, I'm guessing they're following the state's template.
Pretty much, yes. They
Okay.
tweaked a few things to have like reserved rights to do a little parking in the future. They had an idea for a couple like tent platforms as well, but it's all future ideas. They just want to hold
Right.
in the reserved rights list.
And based on where the wetlands are and stuff, would they have to come back in front of us based on?
They didn't have an exact spot flagged out yet, but
Okay.
I've thoroughly explained the logistics of this lot to him, so he understands that.
And can someone just pull it up real quick so we can look at it? And otherwise, I think unless people have specific questions on this, we can kind of vote on it. I just want to make sure people understand where it is because this connects to other open space, correct?
Yeah, not owned by us, but
Correct.
yeah, I believe it's held by like the Nelson Library trustees, interestingly enough, but it is town land.
Okay.
So that's Jan's got 45 Creeper Hill highlighted now. That's the one that will get the CR on it.
Yep.
And if she clicks the one behind it, I think that'll say Nelson Park trustees.
Okay. And if I'm correct, didn't we do lot 31 not that long ago? Wasn't that like a couple
To the
years ago in
south?
front to the southwest? Yeah.
Can you click that one, Jan, with the 31? 51 Creeper Hill came before us some years ago for, I want to say, a utility line.
Okay, I just sort of remember the stream and somehow looking at that lot.
We looked at 45, 2 rounds worth of filings
Okay,
because they
all right.
wanted to come in on a driveway easement, then they couldn't make that work.
Yep.
Then they were
Yep.
going to have the driveway have more impacts, so then they tried that. They just don't seem to be able to pull off a sale, I think is the obstacle they were facing, so then they kind of went this route.
Yep. And then the bottom line is we will hold the conservation restriction, correct?
Yeah, we won't be the owners, we'll be the holders of the conservation restriction. The owners will be the Greater Worcester Land Trust.
Right. And just as a kind of an FYI, that's the typical way open space is done for a conservation restriction, and that's someone different. Like a lot of our land, a lot of the open space, the town may own it, but the land trust may have the conservation restriction, or vice versa, and so forth. So,
Right.
just wondering. So, does anyone else have any questions on this?
So when this came up a while ago, the idea was that there would be access to the Consigman to get to Hovey Pond, because I remember the state put in a dam off Worcester Street years ago, and they refused to put in public access. Like there's no public access to get to Hovey Pond. So this is the one where, and I think in the CR baseline, they have something about as a right. I guess what I'm asking, they can put in a boat launch, right? There's nothing in here that would stop them.
Let me take a quick look in the background, but I believe you're right that that's in the reserved rights list, is to be able to put one in. They would have to come talk to us on the wetland side of things, but I believe that's in
As long
the
as,
list.
yeah, as long as they can do that. Cause I thought that was one of the selling points to this, was that they could get a boat launch in. Cause there's no way to get to Hovey Pond. There's no
Yeah, and
public
if you,
access.
yeah, on the bottom of this, you
Unless
can
you
see
drag
where
the boat
yeah,
through the woods.
yeah, you can see where the dam is and stuff.
But that was it.
Okay.
So I remember this coming before us, and the guardrail and where I don't know, it's a bridge or an embankment or whatever it is that where Creeper Hill crosses the waterway. There was a guardrail and it's very steep. So how will people be able to how are people using 31 or whatever the larger one is, the Nelson Trustees? Is that off Elm Street that they get access to that, or is that just all neighborhood access?
At the moment, it's all neighborhood access. There's no public entrance.
Trailhead.
So they're hoping to
Okay.
create that here. And I believe their general idea is to try to hug the northern property line as much as possible.
So they're trying to use that little sliver that we couldn't. I just remember going back and forth on this before, and it just didn't want to work to provide access for a single family house. But like where the RD of Creeper Hill Road is in this shot right here, there's a very skinny approach to this property.
Right.
So I just didn't know how they were going to access that, and if they're going to try to do what kind of failed prior, which was trying to sell the lot and try to use it. It just, I'm just wondering how people are going to access it. Basically, if the plan is to future develop that trailhead at Creeper Hill Road, I'm just wondering if they're going to run into the same problems, and we're going to, I don't know, maybe it doesn't matter. I remember it being a lot of back and forth to find out that they couldn't really do what they wanted to do.
So
So
So we did end up issuing them an order of conditions to have the driveway come in. It was gonna
mhm.
need some, like a retaining wall, because of the grades, and then it was gonna result in some wetland impacts. And we're gonna have to replicate. I let the Greater Worcester Land Trust know of all these things so that, if they're looking to follow a similar footprint, they're gonna run into the same requirements on the wetlands permitting side of things. I believe their initial idea is to provide another neighborhood access point. I don't think they're rushing in there trying to create a big parking lot. I think they want a little trailhead at the road, but still kind of a walkable destination at first. And then they have
Mhm.
the reserved rights for these like couple tent platforms, make a little bit of parking down the road. Um, I'm just looking in the CR now, and they do have the boat ramp. To answer Travis's question.
So they're just
Yeah.
securing. Oh, go ahead, Jonathan.
No, go ahead, Sandy. Go ahead.
I was just going to say they're probably just making sure they secure this piece of land for the potential of doing it, and they'll have to figure it out in the future.
Yeah, I don't think they have like, they haven't shown me a specific plan of like, this is where we want parking and this is where we want this and this is where we want that. They've just written out in words things that they want to be able to possibly do in the future. And I sent them all the documentation of what did go through us for the wetlands permitting side of things. And, I explained if you have impacts, you're gonna have to replicate, um, the retaining wall that was needed and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think they're hoping it's a lighter lift than the full driveway to a house. I think they're hoping to keep it closer to the road.
The other thing is they can, even if they just have a pedestrian access or something, and have other solutions for parking. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
that's helpful. No other questions for me.
all right. Anyone else? Travis, any other questions?
No, nothing else from me.
Amara, any other questions?
No questions.
Then so we need to have a motion and vote on accepting the conservation restriction, and we also have to need to say we're going to accept the baseline report.
Yeah, but you can do it all together.
Okay, so can I have a motion?
I'll move to accept the conservation restriction and baseline report for 45 Creeper Hill Road.
Second.
Second.
A motion, a second. Roll call vote. Travis.
Yes.
Jonathan.
Yes.
Amira.
Yes.
I am also a yes. Motion passes. This is the fun stuff we get to do. That's something else is, potentially who knows what's going to happen down the road, but it's now going to be held as open space. All right. It is 7:16. Start with the RDA.
Yeah.
Okay. I got a switch here. Okay. All right. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Conservation Commission held a public hearing to act upon a request for determination of applicability for the construction of utility lines from the project site at 116 Upton Street along Old Upton Street in Grafton. And who's here to present that?
Hi, for the record, Travis Brown, Turning Point Engineering.
Ah,
Here representing Upton Road Properties for an RDA that was submitted. As you probably remember, not too long ago, we came in with an RDA for the work up in the main part of Upton Street, which is 140, basically from Pigeon Hill intersection down to Sibley Street and Old Upton Street intersection. We have since worked through some Mass DOT 25% review comments, responded to those comments with this filing. Those comments were pretty minor in nature. The biggest thing that we did touch upon last time was the relocation of that proposed water line from the shoulder of the low side of that road, which is the northerly side, moving that water line actually into the lane because there are future drainage improvements that Mass DOT has identified on that low side. So as to not interfere with that work, we've relocated the water line. They had a couple other comments on burial depth and then just confirming that we'd be using controlled density fill. So that information has been provided back to Mass DOT. It's in the 75% to 100% review stage. So probably not any big changes based on this design. Similar to what we had done last time, is we have shown erosion control barriers adjacent to the roadway. All of this work is, within previously disturbed areas, whether that's the pavement structure of the road or just outside that pavement structure in the shoulder. So similar to kind of what we looked at before, but a separate filing for the remaining work to install the utilities from Sibley Street intersection down to the site at 116 Upton Street. Be
All right.
happy to answer any questions.
thank you very much. Leah, your report out, because I know this is kind of a continuation of what we've already done previously.
Yeah, the only thing I have that he didn't touch on is that they have another waiver request to work in the no disturb, just because of the nature of the layout that they need.
All right. I don't have any questions at this time. I'll go around and check with the commissioners. Travis,
Can you pass and come back to me, please?
certainly. Amira,
I don't have any questions at this time.
all right. Thank you. Jonathan,
No questions.
I guess the only kind of question I have, I know you're still in design and kind of understand the DOT process. When is as far as um, a general schedule of when this work will start?
Eastland has moved into the site, the main part of the site with tree clearing. They're gonna get started in there, and then this work, I would anticipate in the next 2 to 3 months, they would do this utility work, assuming, it's gone through Mass DOT and approvals and all of that. There's a little more time. Unfortunately, I'm just looking at the permit process schedule. So next round of comments are due July 11th. After that, we'd address any remaining comments if they have them. That would go into a PS&E stage where they would issue the permit, which would probably be another 20 to 30 days. So we're probably looking at, August,
Okay.
September, I would anticipate.
Okay. Travis, anything come up?
I'm just going through my notes from last month.
Yeah, I know. That's
No.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I-
And then, oh, go ahead.
No, I don't have anything.
So Leah, also we'll have you have a couple of recommendations. One of them is work shall not occur without final approval from MassDOT, pretty straightforward. And then erosion control. I guess the next thing is just to go through the waiver. But before I do that, I'll open this up to the public. If anyone has any comments or questions, you certainly can respond to them. I don't know if Jan, if there's anyone even in. So that seems pretty straightforward. Okay, so first up is a waiver from the wetlands regulations to allow work in the no disturb. That's just based on the location of the right of way and the wetlands and so forth. Do I have a motion for the waiver for work within the no disturb?
I'll move to grant a waiver for work within the no disturb due to the proximity to wetlands as discussed.
I have a second.
Second.
We'll do a roll call vote. Travis,
Yes.
Amira,
Yes.
Jonathan,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. The motion carries and the waiver is granted. Anything we should add, Leah, at this point before we do a
Nope,
vote
you're
for
all
the?
set.
Okay, and then this will be a vote for a negative determination with the recommended waivers of no work shall not occur without final approval from MassDOT, and the erosion control shall be installed as shown on the plans. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right,
Second.
very good. Oh, very good. Roll call vote. Travis,
Yes.
Amira,
Yes.
Jonathan.
Yes.
I am also a yes. The motion carries. Good luck with the project.
Thank you very much. Take care.
So I was talking at MACC about how we like the same people do the motions and stuff like that. And I was finding out from other commissions, this is not uncommon, that
It's cadence.
it's cadence, it's efficiency. So, but it was an interesting conversation around that. So that was all good. All right. It is after 7:20. So we have Leah, looks like a request for continuance,
Correct.
and that's going to be till July 8th. Let me just go back to the lead sheet. Okay. All right. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing to act upon a notice of intent and application for Grafton Wetlands Bylaw permit for upgrades to an existing overhead transmission line along the entire of the line 323 easement across Grafton. The applicant has requested a continuance to July 8th. Do I have a motion for the continuance?
Amir, if you want to jump in, you can.
I'll move to continue. I forget. Wait, what should I say next?
Yeah, it's okay to continue the public hearing to July 8th.
I move to continue the public hearing to July 8th.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Someone else can figure out who said that first. So we have a motion and a second, and now we'll do a roll call vote. Travis,
Yes.
Jonathan,
Yes.
Amira.
Yes.
I am also a yes. The motion carries. Congratulations on your first motion.
Thank you for the opportunity.
No problem. Okay. So next one is just a continuation for 55 Weston Street.
Correct.
All right. So I will read that in. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing via Zoom to act upon a notice of intent application for Grafton Wetlands Bylaw permit for the construction of an addition, above ground pool, and driveway expansion at 55 Weston Street. So before we get going, just a quick question. Leah, did you get the photos I sent you? It would
I
be in an
saw-
email.
I saw your email that you would send them, and then I didn't see a follow-up.
Okay, I did a follow-up one, and I think it was too large. I was trying to whatever. So I'm not surprised it didn't get to you, but we'll talk about that. So let's just shift on who's here to discuss that, and you have the floor.
Hi, Matt Burks here. I think something must have come up for Norm because I don't see him on. I just messaged him, but he may have either forgotten or something came up. But I'm here to answer any questions to the best of
Okay.
my ability as the
Sure,
homeowner.
and that sounds good. If you're comfortable doing that, we can certainly proceed. Yep.
Yeah,
Um,
if I don't know something, I'll just say it and we can go from there if that's okay.
Yep. So one thing that so one question I have for Leah, can I share the screen or share our
I
screen?
Jan might be able to let you as an individual. And I'm sorry to interrupt the flow, but you read the legal ad in, right? To open
Yes.
this? Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. I get it. I had to think for a second, but yes, I did. All right. All right. So Matthew, do you have anything to kind of open up? Otherwise, I was just gonna I swung by your property just to take some photos so the other commissioners could see them.
No, I saw two of you stop by and that's great. Norm's team was able to stake it out last week. So yeah, no, hopefully that was helpful.
Yep.
But yeah, nothing major to add. Like I said, answer questions and go from there.
Okay. So I'm gonna try to share my screen. We'll
So,
see.
Sandy, can
Yep.
I just pause for a second? I'm
Sure.
with Leah. I believe you said we're going to talk about the continuation of 55 Weston Street, but I don't know if you read it in or not. My brain is mush after 12,
Okay.
14 hours.
Yeah, I
Travis,
wasn't listening. I wasn't listening. I was looking
I-
at the report.
I'm not sure that I heard it either.
Okay.
I
So
feel like we remember the one before that and maybe.
Yeah.
just
So
didn't want to proceed
pursuant-
without it.
Yeah, no, I'll just read it again. Pursuant to Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Conservation Commission will hold public hearings via Zoom to act upon notice of intent and application for Grafton Wetlands Protection Permit for the construction of an addition above ground pool in addition at 55 Weston Street. So it's read in to be covered and everything. So
Thank you, Sandy. I didn't hear it either. Sorry.
that's okay. Hey, I read it and I was asked the question and I couldn't even tell you, which is kind of sad. So working on that. So let's see if I can.
Sandy, I'm gonna make you the host, and I think you'll be able to share screen from there.
Oh, God, that scares me. I'm gonna have to. Okay, let's see. Let's see if this works. Here we go. So what I did do is I just kind of went by the site, and let me first say, can you guys see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this just happens to be the wetland sign. So I took that, and I want to make sure that I can do this in a way that everyone can see this. So this is just the backyard. And so I have a couple of questions the way this is staked out. Um, so back to Matthew, and so these 4 stakes, are these the garage?
No, the first two corn stakes closer to the house are the corners of the garage.
Okay.
And then the latter two stakes are the corners of the deck / above ground pool.
Okay, that's what I wanted. That's what I thought, but it wasn't really clear when I looked at it. So basically just for the rest of the members and so forth. So basically this deck is going to get removed. And then,
Mhm.
and then you're going to see for the first stakes that will be the new garage, and then this second set of stakes is where the deck and the it's above ground pool, right?
Correct. Mhm.
Okay, and that goes in the back there. So let me keep on going just to what else I've got some photos here. This is really just to show the access point into that. So basically you're going to be coming into here for the garage. This is one question I kind of had. There's an existing downspout right at the corner that looks like it's going to an underground system. And then I kind of moved out towards the front of the property. That's just your entrance of your driveway. And if anyone has any questions, happy to kind of slow down. This is kind of just looking down the road here. There's actually a catch basin. I don't know if people can see it. There's a slight low spot here. I didn't see any evidence of any kind of erosion or anything else. I also have this one here. So I know last time out, we talked about, quote, the swale in this area here. So that was required under the original notice of intent for that. There's some crushed stone over here for for just your trash containers and so forth. Again, there's no sign of any kind of erosion, but that was a previous kind of look at it. And then I could not find any place in this area here of, any kind of swales or anything else. The last one I want to do is just look at.
Sandy, if I may, while you have that
Yeah.
picture, I don't know exactly, because we weren't the original homeowners where the swale was, but my sense is it's roughly where the barrel are and that crushed stone. That's also
Yep.
water pools. That's why we did that to
Okay.
create help drainage. But that's my sense of where the swale area that was a condition
Okay.
is.
Yeah, because that's one of the things. The reason this is that catch basin, and it's really hard to say, without going out there during the rain. It looks like there is a small kind of created gutter line from the grass, but it's not that clear. It's you would know better if the water actually goes down the road, goes down your driveway, and then this is just another. You know, that's the low point down there, and didn't see any kind of type of evidence of water paths or anything through there. And to your point, I thought maybe the swale might have meant to go here or someplace. I don't know if Leah, you have those plans from the previous one, from the previous original submission, but anyway, so I got all these. So if anyone has, so I'll go to the commissioners. Is there any particular photo that anyone wants to look at?
Yeah, could you go back to the first one that shows the stakes,
Sure,
please?
not a problem.
And I was busy getting sworn in, so I did not have time to stop by.
That's okay. So here's one of them, but I think the one that you're really looking
So
for
yeah, the other
is
one that
this one
showed all
here.
four.
Yep.
So the furthest stake, that would be 2438 plus the landing, which isn't shown,
Yeah.
feet from the house. Is that right?
Yep.
Yes,
And
24.
then the driveway's not shown. It basically goes up to the stone
Right.
wall,
Right. So
Yeah.
this is that. Yeah. So that.
which is also impervious surface. Like for our
Yep.
purposes, we're worried about the stormwater going
Correct.
into the wetland. Okay.
Yep.
That's helpful.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
again, it's a little bit of a tight squeeze when so all the boulders are there, all the signs are there, and then you can see there's a vegetation buffer, and then you can see where the wetlands are when you look into it.
What is the
Um,
green thing popping up right there?
Underground propane tank.
Oh, okay. I looked at it. I didn't think that was it, but that's okay. And that would be outside of, so when you do
Correct.
your driveway, basically your propane, the tanker would come down and fill that there.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
this is it is a tight corner. This isn't going to be a traditional garage that's used on a daily basis, but it's for small little cars that will have to back in. It is a tight little turn, but
Yep.
we think it's workable.
Okay. So I just wanted to share that. I was trying to find if there was any really visible areas where you have water coming down. Do you have water coming down your driveway when it rains?
Yeah, so it flows down from to the left of this from the road, and then
Okay.
I mean when it really rains, it comes down quite extensively because there's a bit of a hill there, and then
Yep.
it tends to flow down the middle of the driveway, and then that's why I think that's where the swale is, because that's kind of where it pools, right where the barrels are, and like I said, we
Right.
go
Not
back.
on this side, because I didn't see any evidence of any
Yeah,
kind
no,
of. Okay.
I've never seen any water in the backyard.
Right. Okay. So it's really let's see here.
I mean, we have wetlands on the other side of us as well, on
Yep.
the side that come right out to the road. And certainly you see some water in there as well, but not in the grass areas.
Yeah, so you can see this. It's hard to tell from photos, but it does actually kind of pitch down towards this area here. So, and that's just crushed stone.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I am going to stop sharing, and hopefully, Jan, you can take control back so I don't mess things up.
I think you need to right click me and make me host again.
Okay. It says co-host. Make host. Okay, I found it. Let's hope we all don't go away, but you're up and good. Okay, cool. Okay. After about 5 years of doing this on a daily basis, 4 or 5 times a day, you'd think I'd be better at it, but okay. So, hopefully, this helps folks as far as, like, kinda give, because when I was out there, kind of my first question was, those first 2 stakes are really the garage, because I thought it was something was a little bit, because there was a box back there. So that's because so a portion of this area that's already has the deck and the concrete, that's gonna get removed,
Correct.
extended out to be the garage. Just curious, how is there a separation from your house to the garage, or is it gonna be connected?
To be honest, we haven't thought that far ahead.
Okay.
That level of construction detail.
And I'm only asking, the only reason I'm asking this is I'm just trying to figure out what's gonna happen to the roof line.
Hmm.
Just because it's, you're probably one story with some sort of slope roof on it. I'm just curious which way it's gonna go and stuff.
Yeah, so it's likely going to go the opposite. The roof line is like this, and so we're
Yeah.
likely going to go the opposite way of the existing
Okay.
roof line.
Yeah, which makes sense. It's just it's gonna be a little bit because of it's gonna be longer than it's just not standard
Mhm.
way of doing it. And the only reason I'm asking is just to figure out where the roof's gonna run off and so forth. So
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, it'd be a garage on the base level. We're going to do some sort of room above. It may just be a
okay.
screened-in porch, but with a roof, and then so the roof would be kind of tying into like the second level of the home, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Yep. No, no, totally. And to be honest, as far as how you go up, but that's less of an issue for us. So
Yeah, I just figured I'd add some context to what we're trying to
no,
do.
because that's answering my questions out there,
Yeah.
just trying to visualize it. So um, hopefully that gives you a little bit of information. So I'm going to do is go around to the commissioners to see what kind of questions they have, concerns, and if they have any other kind of specific questions on the plans or anything like that. So, Travis, anything to add to this kind of mini little site visit preview?
My concerns remain the same. I think the original conditions noted that a stormwater swale would be installed between the wetland and the driveway. It wasn't. And the new plans don't include that. They don't expand upon that. So there's still that concern.
Yep.
I appreciate that they added the stormwater feature to intercept runoff. I can't comment though on whether or not that's sufficient. That's more Sandy,
Yep.
your realm.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then there's just the whole it's not meeting the upland requirement.
Right.
So, and I guess that original condition was not clear what the definition of development is, but the note said no further disturbance or development. So I feel like the idea was this is it from a disturbance standpoint
Right.
or development.
I don't.
So
Does it say no further
not-
disturbance?
the notes do, yes,
But the condition doesn't.
The
correct.
condition doesn't, but the meeting minutes talk about it that way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
um,
because it's
Yeah.
a tight lot. Yeah.
yeah, there's no question about that.
And I mean, the installation of a vegetated swale would definitely help further protect the wetland.
Yep.
But it's not here. So
To be clear, I mean, we did
Those are
receive
my-
a certificate of compliance. I guess, I mean, just because I can't speak to exactly where the swale is, my sense was that is what was intended, and at some point someone signed off on that. Is that not accurate?
I wasn't there.
Yeah, I can't say for sure exactly what the process was, but and again, I don't even know if I was on the commission because that was a little while ago. But and again, that might have happened, um, but typically you can't really eliminate something unless you go back to the commission and ask for it, we don't have a record of that. But having said that, to be honest, as far as like what should be done, there's kind of some larger questions about just that one condition, which we'll get into, but also when you're talking about the stormwaters and so forth, putting, for me, like putting a swale in may not be the best, only because everything is really stable right now. And by putting that in, you're going to potentially do some impacts. I think there's other things that you could do that would help protect the wetlands and not be as intrusive on the very stable grass. And so I'll kind of get to that in a little bit, but I just really want to get everyone's kind of feedback about the site and kind of questions on how it looks. And it is tight. There's no question about that. But
I guess that's
so,
where I'm at, Sandy. I'm not sure
okay.
this plan as presented is in the best interest of the
Yep.
wetland resource.
Nope. It's about protecting the wetland resources. So that's where the discussion's going to go. So, Jonathan, any questions from you?
So I'm looking at the notes from our report here that have the clip that was put in there that it says specifically what Travis mentioned. The commission also determined that if an order of conditions was to be issued, that the applicant was utilizing all of the 75% upland and that no further disturbance / development to the lot would be permitted. So in my typical John fashion, is this something that has come up in the past where we have gone against something that has happened? Like if it's been established in an order, in a filing, in the meeting minutes documenting it, have we gone against it in the future for any reason? Because that's pretty, if it just said development, then I think what Norm has written in the NOI letter is, it starts to create a gray area. But with the phrase disturbance / development to the lot, this would
Right.
be disturbance to the lot. And it doesn't, it doesn't just say disturbance to the upland or disturbance to site. It says disturbance to the lot as a whole. So unfortunately, it looks like that condition, in my eyes, would prevent this.
Right. Yeah. So, and I don't disagree with that, that, that was probably discussed at the time. That was pretty
Mhm.
standard. That particular language wasn't put into the actual ongoing condition. And again, for anything that the only people that can change that condition are us. And then again, to me, for us to change anything, we would have to overcome the initial reasons why we put it in there in the first place. And so that gets back to the base issue of protecting the wetlands. And if this addition and all of the enhancements they may be willing to do, is that sufficient to negate our original concerns about adding additional impervious? So that's why, like when Travis talks about the impervious, I think that's where it comes in. So I'm always very careful about trying not to make any opinions on other than what we should be protecting. It's a tight fit. Driveway's going to be really tight, but the bottom line is that you're taking an area that has so much, um, imperviousness on it already, and then you're adding more imperviousness, and therefore, you have the potential to have impacts on the wetlands. And how do you mitigate that? And can you mitigate it? Those to me are the key questions. So,
Agree. No, so I echo the fact that you're adding a 24 by 20-ish trapezoid of, is it going to be an asphalt driveway?
That was the original plan, yeah.
I was going to say, has any other system, so I don't know, Sandy, if there's, again, gravel or something that is willing, I'm not sure what would be, if it's a
there
sheet
is,
of asphalt, it's gonna, depending on how it's pitched, it's gonna pitch towards the
yeah.
backyard of the wetland, right?
So there's a lot of alternatives to having an impervious driveway. I mean, you can do a porous pavement, you can do pavers, you can do grasscrete. There's a wide variety of very solid surfaces that are permeable that then would have just crushed stone underneath it, which would add a filtering. There's actually different layers and you add a filtering. Um,
Mhm.
Porous paving is not as expensive as it used to be. It used to be like 5 times regular paving. It's has come down in price a lot, and more importantly, there's enough people out there now that do it that it's become more mainstream, and the price has come down because of it. And just, I know, Matthew, if you have experience with porous pavements, I mean, it's a different mix, but so the difference of what your driveway looks like now and what you would do with a porous pavement, it has a larger aggregate, so it looks a little different, but it is still just aggregate and it's a different mix. So it actually is free flowing just about so that that area, if you did that small area, no matter what you're doing with pavement, a small area costs you more money, um, but it would be then you would have that area there would not be impervious. It's actually pervious. It goes through the stone that's underneath it. It has a filtering effect to it. So it's
We'd be
just
happy to do, I mean, I'd rather not specify exactly, but say
yeah,
something that's pervious. We'd be happy to
yeah,
make that
right.
adjustment.
And there's a lot of alternatives out there. There's something called Grasscrete um, that is actually a proprietary type of system. It is as simple as concrete with like little octagons in it that you backfill with stone. So it's a solid surface, but again, it infiltrates into it. You could do, if you want to go a little bit on the higher end, you could do paver systems that have different gaps in it with engineered soil in it. So there's a lot of options out there. You could even do reinforced turf, which gets it looking like a grass, but it's a solid. There's different ways of doing that. And sometimes you put in, um, you know, uh, almost like a mesh in the soils, and then it allows you to drive on it. And if you're not going to be using it on a daily basis, your grass will stay. So there is a lot of options there for providing access to the garage without going to an impervious surface of either pavement or something else. So
Happy to make, yeah, like I said, we'd rather stay away from specificity of what it is if possible, but happy to make an adjustment that
yeah.
is something like that.
Yeah, and there's a lot out there, and we would not, from my perspective, like that type of approach, I would not, say you have to do this or that. It's really just the two big buckets of impervious versus pervious.
Yeah, and happy to make the pervious change.
Okay. And then kind of the only other thing was, where you're, you know, and curious with Travis, where those trash bins were with the stone. And just kind of looking at it, I think if you try to put a swale in it now, it would be pretty just I think you might cause more issues than not. However, I think you could do a very simple, French drain at the edge of you know, um, your existing pavement, which is, like a 18-inch wide, by 18-inch or 2 by 2 trench and just put stone in it so you
Yeah.
can have some place to collect it. And then again, it has the ability to filter before it gets to the wetlands.
And
Yeah.
happy to make that too. I do just want to point out, I mean, we're not sure where the swale is. I don't, I mean, I think Gnome's
Yeah.
firm did the original plans, but I think if you look at it, I think it is where the barrels are. And if
Okay.
reading the conditions, it was about creating where the flow of the driveway was. The
Yep.
water comes right down the middle of the driveway and goes exactly there. So I just want to kind of correct it a little bit. I think it is there. We're not proposing to change anything with regard to what I think the swale is.
So, Jana, Leah, do you have the old? I think you put it in our package, right? Of the original submission.
I think so.
I
Just
think
give Jan a
I don't know
second
if
to
I can't
find it.
remember if I opened it or not, but I saw it in there.
Yeah, I have it.
Oh, perfect.
Previous filing.
Yeah.
Yep. So you're pulling that up. Amira, do you have any kind of other questions or kind of opinions and so forth?
Yeah. I echo everyone else's concerns. I feel like Sorry, I'm just trying to pull up the notes I just had. I feel like the order of conditions that was placed previously was pretty explicit and said no further development on this lot. And the meeting minutes that are referenced in our notes kind of explicitly say no further development in the rear of the lot. So I feel like this is considered development in the rear of the lot. So those are where my concerns lie.
Okay. And again, that's pretty straightforward. We also have the ability to kind of look at that. And again, as long as we're very careful in our findings and we can demonstrate something has been improved or there's mitigation for what we're doing. I don't
And
think
if I could, Sandy,
Yep.
like also maybe 10 years ago, impervious pavement wasn't a thing, and now there's this new technology which could mitigate something that the prior commission wouldn't have done, but now there's this new technology that we can implement. So that's another thing
Yep.
to consider.
Could
Also,
we-
if I could, real quick, while I'm thinking of it, Sandy or Leah, do you recall if we've ever had a condition that no underground storage tanks would be installed immediately adjacent to a wetland resource? That's a new one for me.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that, but that just means it's never come
Yeah.
up. I don't,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a new one. Just thinking.
Could,
And
could I
again-
could I ask you to
Sure.
point out the meeting minutes comments? Because the rear of the lot, in my opinion, is not behind the house. The rear of the lot is beyond this plan. We have further upland.
Yep.
To the
we
north.
understand that. Yep.
I want to make sure we're on the same page. Like I didn't. I mean, to me, saying one thing in the minutes and then not having that same language in the condition implies that you lessened the scope, right? Like the word disturbance, no disturbance wasn't used in the condition. So the fact that it was almost more indicative than if you had just kind of been consistent. Like, what does development mean? Does that
So, yeah, I will give you kind of heads up that the word development has is always a problematic to the point where it ends up, the depending upon what you look up from it, like the state and the wetlands and different regulations, development is defined as altering of the area. So it's depends upon it because it's a single word. It's where it's defined. And if it's not defined in the Wetlands Protection Act. That's a problem only because that has come up questions on through other things that I'm involved with that is like, well, where is it? And yes, there are state law that define it, but it doesn't directly relate to wetlands. So it makes it difficult for this. And so the consistency would be is would have been nice. It didn't happen just based on whatever it was. The meeting minutes is a record of the deliberation, so it shows intent. So that is it. But and then to be honest, um, the conditions we have nowadays is a little bit more explicit as opposed to what we did. I forget what year it was, but
I think
so
2014.
yeah.
Norm,
So
sorry, Sandy, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, so Jan is so was this the only drawing or was there another drawing? So it shows the proposed house. I'm just trying to figure out where it says the swale.
Yeah, this is the only plan I have on hand.
I
Can you
believe
just go ahead.
I believe this is the approved plan and the swale wasn't captured in it. It was captured in special condition 8 in the permit.
Okay, so it was a condition not shown on the plan.
I believe so, yeah. Because
Okay,
I haven't found it on one.
okay. And so and it was just in the description of that was to add a swale. I guess that's another kind of
I'm gonna need Jan to pull up the old order. I didn't copy paste that one over.
yeah. And Matthew, we're just trying to make sure we get all the ducks in a
Oh
row.
yeah, no, I appreciate the diligence that you're doing. Norm has the citation. I just wanted to kind of add, I believe there's relevant Massachusetts law that says building a garage or a pool in grass area is not, it may be development or disturbance, or Norm had the citation. I don't have it.
Yeah, unfortunately, I know of other citations where it just says altered. So, I mean, I'm trying to do more of a practical kind of approach.
Yeah, no, I'm
Really.
not, I'm just throwing it out there.
Yep. No, that's fine. So the flow path from the driveway to the wetland must include a minimum 4-foot wide swale, sufficient length and depth to impede the flow of the water from the driveway to the wetland, allowing settling to occur. Okay, yeah, the flow path should continue around the driveway, directing the water to the road and not the building and not the wetland. So if you bring up the plan previously, the first original plan. Thank you, Jan.
How would it direct it uphill, Sandy?
That was exactly what I was looking at. So, I mean, probably the biggest thing that could be done is to make sure you limit the runoff going down the driveway for what falls on it. That's what I couldn't quite figure out. I wasn't there when it was raining. There was definitely no evidence that it was coming down. You can see from the grading here on the way they did the driveway, that little pull off turnaround spot is definitely been designed so the water flows that away and not down towards the garage. And if you look at that, the the house and the kind of where the contour is bending is setting up a low spot on the wetland side, pretty much where those trash cans were. So to me, the bigger thing is if you get water from the roadway is a bigger issue. Because if you look on this plan here, I don't know if Jan, you can point to it. It is in the roadway, just past the property line. There's just a catch basin. So go to your left. You got it. So that's a catch basin right there. And there's no curb on the road. And I couldn't tell being out there if all the water that comes down the roadway goes to that catch basin. That catch basin is definitely at a low point. I was just kind of looking to make sure that it wasn't going down the driveway, which would add more water going directly into the wetlands.
And there's a NWI line going right through this property, right?
Don't know
Yeah.
where that is. Yeah.
Yeah, if you go to the wetland layer, there's a NWI blue line that goes from that catch basin under the driveway into the wetland behind the property.
Oh,
And
so there's
then
actually a discharge.
traverses south, yeah, into Magnolia Lane and then into a larger wetland, and yeah, it keeps going.
Yeah. I mean, for me,
So there
it was less.
must be a drainage underneath the driveway going back into the wetland.
Yeah. There wasn't
Gotta
any
go
evidence of.
somewhere.
Yeah, there wasn't any evidence of any kind of drainage on site. I mean, any kind of drainage structure or drainage collection system on site.
I bet it
I
goes
didn't
into
see
that wetland back
Yeah.
there. There's probably a outlet
Is it on
somewhere.
GIS, Travis?
Yeah, you can see the NWI line.
Can Jan, can you pull that up?
And it's pretty much in line with that catch basin.
Yeah, that's actually not on his property. If it depending upon where it goes, yeah.
I'm on Map Geo.
The map geo.
Yeah, the Mass GIS wetland layer from 2005 has it.
Based on the GIS, and I know Jan's trying to pull it up, Sandy, but yeah, I can see the blue line running under Wesson and through, and it's through 55
Okay.
into that. But again, I'm assuming that's accurate.
Eh. It's also dated.
If you guys are talking about how it kind of appears like there could be like an intermittent stream or something, I did raise that point early with Norm, and he just said no evidence of it in the field.
Yeah, I didn't see anything. Yeah, it goes right through the house.
The one on Grafton Mass GIS, if you turn on Mass GIS DEP Wetlands 2005, again dated. Yeah, that's what I was looking at right there.
Yeah, that's yeah, that's a hydraulic connection. That's not even a pipe.
Can you explain to me what a hydrologic connection is?
It's usually intermittent stream or something, or a stream.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was drain pipe as well.
Yeah, no. Typically on the wetlands plan, they're not going to show a drain pipe.
Got it.
So my guess is that was there previously, but when you look at when you as an example, when you look at this map here, the green is, you know, a wetlands, the green is a wetlands, the blue is a reservoir. Well, you know, as far as the current mapping of the wetlands, it goes all the way across 55. So on our plan, it shows more wetlands than this does, which is very typical, you know.
Mhm.
So
Jan, can you toggle the layer beneath it? Because that's more updated instead of the 05. That one's 2020.
they just haven't updated their maps. I mean, it says it's a riverine. Not to say that something didn't exist there at some point, because typically they get it off an aerial. And obviously, you know, that doesn't exist. I mean, it doesn't currently exist. And based on when you look on, you know, kind of the background and so forth, that's not really, yeah. I'm just trying to pick up. So like I look at the 2023 aerial, and I'm going to go back to 2005 aerial. Fortunately, it's a crappy one. Let's see if this one, even in a 2001 aerial image, there's no, there's no evidence at all of a stream there. That's weird. So I can't tell you where that came from, to be quite honest. So, so Matthew, when was the house built?
2014, 2015. I'm not sure exactly when.
Okay, so
Sandy, the aerial photo that's on GIS from spring 2014 has a dump truck, an excavator, and it looks like a silt fence or some type of fence. And then the 15 shows the finished product, but not grown in yet. It's all
Yeah.
dirt around. So, yeah, the timing
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just like, but even if, Jonathan, you go back to the 2005 or 2001 aerials, you don't see any kind of evidence of a stream going through there.
Agree
Yeah. So,
with what I'm looking at. Yeah.
so yeah, Jan, if you want to just pull up the aerials from the older aerials.
I was looking at 2006, Jan, at the bottom, the Mass GIS aerial, 2006.
Yeah.
My understanding is that some of the wetland that's on the back of our property was created when a prior owner of this lot and several others was trying to create a similar subdivision to Magnolia. Now, that's not, that's what I heard kind of secondhand, but that he tried to, I think illegally, move some stuff around, and then that exacerbated the wetland that was there, but created more of a, it's almost
Yeah.
a pond really back there.
Yeah, this, that wetlands, the wetlands now goes all the way across. And just kind of looking at the different images from different time periods. It's really interesting. Yeah. And again, that's really doesn't, that's not really impacting you. I mean,
Right.
yeah. Yeah. At some point, someone really messed with the wetlands.
Yeah, I think they owned 41 Weston as well. And they were trying, like I said, what I was told is they were trying to create a subdivision and they were illegally moving stuff. It didn't work out.
Even going back to the 2001 aerial, that doesn't show a whole lot of wetlands on the site. But anyways, okay. So yeah, so Travis, I mean, I don't know where that blue line is coming from, but that is typically some sort of, intermittent stream. It's funny on the one from 2001. There might be something on the south side of Weston Street, but nothing on the north side. Looks like it was an old farm or something at one point. But anyways, yeah. I don't think
Sandy,
we're gonna. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say Jan, if you could go to 2019, aerial photo of 2019, spring 2019. Is this a feature? So if you zoom in, see the kind of the line that's coming out of the backyard. Is this a feature that's known and it goes
Oh, I
between?
saw that. It's a
It
trail.
looks like a 4x4 trail or just a
Yep.
walking trail or something.
Yep.
So,
There's a break there and doesn't go. I mean, it looked all filled in, to be quite honest, but yeah.
Okay.
But I don't even see
It's a
anything.
deer path at this point. I think it's where the deer usually come through.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I did notice that. I think I have a picture of it, but didn't really seem to go anywhere. Or it hasn't been used in a lot. So, but yeah, but even like this one here. Yeah. And you look at where the edge, you can clearly see the edge of the boulders. And then the wetlands are 25 feet behind that. And there's definitely a difference in the vegetation along the boulders versus when you look into the site a little bit more. And then you look further back out, you can see there's that pond and so forth there. So, but I don't know. Yeah, I can't see any evidence of something. And again, we're limited. Site was probably altered, but that's not what we have in front of us, and it's not the way it's out there now. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's something. in the past there was something there, but. So, okay, so let's kind of get back to the beginning here and kind of look at, you know, for me, it's about the mitigation. It's about making sure that if there is the increase of imperviousness, that the relatively clean water off any of the roof areas need to be put into some sort of recharge, which I'm guessing, and I don't know where the existing one is, but the existing drain downspout at the corner of the existing garage goes into the ground. I showed a photo of it. So it would be like, okay, we need to find out where that is. And then any other future, kind of runoff from the roofs get put into the ground for the opportunity to recharge. And then from, as far as that driveway goes, I would think doing some sort of porous system would be extremely helpful. And then as far as along, the way that's graded and so forth, I think there's some things that could be done for the existing driveway that you could do as far as some simple, you know, French drains type of thing so that any water can be at least intercepted and to the greatest extent possible get into the ground. But more than anything, it gets filtered. Those are the type of things that I'm thinking of. And it's a tight site. It is, the rest of the site is wetlands. And I know at some point there's some uplands way back, but you can't really access that because of how the wetlands now are kind of go across the site. So, but I don't want to, say this is what we should do. I'd rather get the opinion of everyone here. So I'll go back around if that approach kind of is something people would consider or you're not comfortable with it. So, Travis.
Yeah, I don't think we can like dictate what they should do, but I feel like those types of measures might protect the wetland, which could further, it could be more beneficial than the existing conditions. Some of those measures that Sandy mentioned, we could actually improve upon the existing conditions. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's actually what I'm trying to do is the reason to allow this is because we're looking at let's forget about the swale and the condition
Sure.
that we're looking to actually maybe do some other things that enhance the existing runoff from the pavement.
And I might throw in like moving the underground storage tank. I'm guessing it has to be moved anyway, and maybe not putting hazardous material underground right next to the wetland. Things that would improve the health of the wetland. But yeah, I don't want to like dictate what they should or shouldn't do.
Yeah.
That's just what I'm thinking.
So, Matthew, have you been told whether that propane tank has to be moved because it's going to be so close to a
It
dwelling?
doesn't
yet?
have to be moved. I mean, from our perspective, from a constructability standpoint, but honestly, we've switched off a lot of things from propane anyways, so we're probably going to move and downsize it anyways. So that's not a big deal from our perspective.
Okay. All right. So, Amara, your take on this as far as what it would kind of take to enhance the protection of the wetlands to allow this to be allowed.
Can you come back to me?
Certainly can. Jonathan.
There's going to be an above ground pool that goes behind the garage, and it's going to be the 20 by 14 is the pool, or is that the deck and the pool combined?
It's kind of half and half.
Okay.
Half deck.
Okay. I don't know anything about pools except that they're full of water. So is that pool water, where's that going to go if you need to drain that? Because you're downhill at the bottom of the site. How's that going to be drained or discharged, and what's there may be a condition potentially or something about
Yep.
how that
So-
gets dealt with.
I don't know I mean, I wasn't really thinking of drainage. The pool we have in mind is one of those lap pools. So, it would be heated. It would, in theory, be able to be used year round. I mean, I don't think it would literally be used in December, January, February, but I don't think we'd be intending to drain it. We're also proposing to do a saltwater pool. I don't know how to answer it because I hadn't really thought about draining it, to be very honest with you.
So you typically have to backwash it on any kind of pool, whether it's a lap pool or a larger pool. Having the saltwater pool is actually a little bit better than having a chlorinated one, just because chlorine can impact the wetlands more. And again, we'd want to say, kind of control where that goes, whether that goes into a little dry well and so forth. So it goes into the ground before it kind of gets to the wetlands and can be treated a little bit. It'd be interesting in a lap pool what they say you need to do for maintenance for a larger size, typical, 18 by 32 or something like that, or that size pool. You have to do at least I don't know what the current ones are, but you have to do routine maintenance, and part of that routine maintenance is flushing out the filter. And so that's where the question comes in, is making sure it has some place to go before it gets to the wetlands.
We could
So,
certainly add that. Yeah, I don't know
yeah,
how that would look. I think I'd have to consult with Norm on that, but we could certainly
yeah.
add something like that.
I don't know the new pools well enough to know what happens, although it's better to have the salt kind of filtering as opposed to chlorine. It just doesn't. It's actually a chemical reaction, so you don't have as much chlorine. The salt kind of turns into chlorine. We would want kind of information and just understand how often that gets backwashed. Bottom line, what we're going to require that can't be put into the wetlands. That to me is the key part of that. So,
On Sandy, to add to that, I mean, if there's going to be a storm tech, I'm assuming that's all subterranean
yep.
chambers over there. I don't know if there's a point on that pool where if you're backwashing it or whatever, if there's a drainage, I'm assuming there's a drainage point somewhere. If the drainage point then could be hypothetically connected into that storm tech, it would then treat it before it's going anywhere, as opposed
Right.
to flowing across the lawn and in past the boulders and into the wetland areas. So
Yep.
might be a consideration of how to treat that water using that system that you're putting. Is that an existing system or is that new based on the garage?
It's
Storm tech is
prob
new.
Yeah,
That's
so
the-
I would suspect there's something there now, just because that pipe, one of your downspouts goes right into the ground. So,
Yeah, I think it goes to the wetland, to be very honest with you.
okay,
Um,
probably not what it's supposed to do,
I
but
got, we
yeah,
got an order of condition. I mean, right, we didn't change it. I'm pretty sure actually it flows, and there's one from the front too that I think goes under the driveway or something.
yeah. And really all you're looking to do is have the opportunity for that to flow into some crushed stone before it goes to the wetlands.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
it might.
yeah.
I just don't know for a fact that it does.
So, right, yeah, and I don't know, it doesn't show in the original plan, so,
Right.
but it goes someplace. So, I think so, and this is my suggestion to you. I mean, I think, you know, we're looking for enhancements you need to convince us why we should do this. And the only reasons that we're looking at are how it impacts the wetlands. Therefore, whether it's a French drain behind the existing driveway, just so that if it runs off, like where you have the stone for I'm thinking of, making that extended. Then you're looking at any place where the downspouts are coming off the new garage that, goes in. If you could have some sort of porous system for your additional, um, paved area into the garage. Those are the things that we're kind of looking for, to kind of say, okay, not only are you, to overcome the condition that we, have as a continuing condition, is that somehow it has to be enhanced. And those are the type of things that we'd be looking for. And again, all of this is around stormwater and how clean it is before it gets to um, the wetlands and try to promote as much infiltration as possible, just so that that's kind of the typical way the wetlands are fed is through groundwater, and hopefully we do a little bit of that. It's not going to be perfect, but it would be, especially with the way the driveway is, that might be an enhancement. So that's those are the things that we're looking for, but we're not going to prescribe specific things for you. Just like the porous driveway, we're not going to tell you use X, Y, or Z. That's up to you and your engineer to figure out, hey, this one works or whatever. So,
So I just want to make sure I'm capturing all the
yeah,
things, the suggestions here, and I understand what you're saying. We need to update the plans.
Yep.
The pool discharge / filter to the
Yep.
storm deck, that was one thing. Probably rerouting the gutters also to the storm deck so that it's all
Yep.
flowing through. Porous materials in the driveway, and then probably some sort of like French drain for the existing driveway to handle runoff. Is that
Yeah, that's
Okay.
all enhancements of not only what you're putting in, but also of what the existing condition is. So
okay?
yes.
I
So
know
let
Amira still has her comments, but I mean, pending what, yeah, we're comfortable making those changes
okay.
and coming back.
So Amira, anything else that you'd like to add or any other questions? Everything's on the floor.
No questions. Yeah, I do recognize the opportunity to kind of do some enhancements here. I just same concerns.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, I mean, Travis, does that sound like at least an approach so that we get to a finish line here and make a decision, yay or nay?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, we're getting closer. I mean, maintaining that vegetated, not necessarily swale, but buffer between the new driveway and the existing wetland. Because if you look at the photos, there's now loose strife right up against that 25 foot, so it's quite possible the wetlands expanded because of development. So
Yep.
I just think it's important to like not put the driveway right next to the 25-foot buffer, whether it's a vegetated swale, the French drain, whatever's best for the site. Yeah, I think we're getting closer, and definitely taking those gutters. I mean, they're draining into the wetland. That would
Yeah. I
appear
mean,
to be what's
I didn't look
happening.
in the wetlands. I didn't
I'm
look in the
sure
wetlands,
they're going to the wetlands. So
but they're going someplace. I just don't
at
know
least
where.
getting back to the original, closer to the original conditions would be.
Yep.
Yeah, we're getting closer.
Yep. Jonathan, anything to add?
The plan addresses the directing of the roof runoff to the infiltration system from the existing dwelling. But is the intent to also take the runoff, because you've described the garage as one, maybe two, the backside of your home may have, because I don't know if it has a walkout basement or not, but it may have
It does.
basically. So you've got 3 stories. So if you're going up 2 to 3 stories with that garage, it would just be the not trying to dictate any level of construction here or detail. I'm just saying that it might be good to understand or to have a note of how potentially that ties into it's not just the existing dwelling roof. We would also be interested for protection of the wetlands, how the water is going to come off that garage too. If
Yep.
it's a gable roof or if it's a shed roof or if it's whatever, how that might come into play, or as long as it's is driven to the storm tech. And then if you've got the entire existing dwelling, the entire garage, and then a potential drain or an overflow for the pool or any other yard drainage or whatever might be flowing into those, is that storm tech, as I'm assuming there's probably a flow calc and all those things that your engineer could dictate, but will that then fit too, is where you kind of shoehorned it over to the edge of the site as well.
Yeah.
So just
I
kind of considerations of how the water is hitting the impervious, the structures or whatever, and then where it's going. And to Sandy's earlier points, is it being treated or absorbed properly before it flows naturally down towards the wetland? So
Yeah. So like sizing it, it doesn't have to take care of a 100-year storm or anything. but it's really the water quality volume is really what you're looking for to make sure, the 1 inch, 1.5 inch storm is collected. So, we're going to a wetlands. It's not that that's going to change, but it's really about filtration, infiltration, and making sure the water is cleaner before it gets to the wetlands. Those are the key items from my perspective. So,
No, I agree. That's where I was going with what's coming off the garage roof as well.
Yep.
So,
and that's why I asked the question, which way the roof was going to be placed. I mean, I don't care if you put, you know, a screened-in porch above your garage, or you put in 2 stories, and that's not us. That's the building inspector. That's fine. It's more like, okay, you're adding this square feet of roof area. We want it as much as we can get into the ground. So,
Understood.
with the garage being, and I just remember it from the last meeting to work on, or to have vehicles, classic cars or whatever you're doing in it. Is it got like a maintenance pit? Is it going to go subterranean, or it says slab 413.22 on the drawing, the plan that was submitted, but is there a maintenance pit? Are there drains in that garage, or is it just going to be a slab that's pitched?
It's a slab that's pitched.
Okay.
plus
Yeah, it's
Jonathan,
not,
if
it's not like auto repairs are gonna be, it's more about vehicle storage.
Okay.
plus Jonathan, just as an FYI, if you do have a floor drain, it cannot go to it cannot be connected to any drainage system per code, for state code, Title 5. Plus, so if you have a septic system, it can't even be tied into that. Has to go into a self-contained tank. If it connects to a sewer system, you have to have the right type of sewer system. You have to have pre-treatment. So anything within a building, you can't discharge. It's only things like the roof and maybe an under drain that's below the building, but you can't have any kind of floor drains in whether it's a basement or a garage. It cannot be discharged into the site. That's not permitted under state. Not to say it doesn't happen, but the state regulation doesn't allow it. So,
No, understood.
yep.
Makes
No,
sense.
it's a good
Figured I'd
question to ask, because there's probably a lot of places that it just does discharge an older place, but any new place, any kind of floor drain cannot be discharged just to the site. It has to be taken care of through some sort of treatment or a tight tank, basically. So,
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Thanks,
Yep.
Andy.
okay. So I'll go back to you, Matthew, and just say, I think you understand what we're looking for. I mean, I think it would be wise to continue this to the next meeting, and then hopefully, or whenever you'd like to continue it to, so that these items can be addressed, and then you could submit something with enough information so we understand what's going on.
Yep,
Detail courses.
agreed. I was gonna ask the same. I think the next hearing is the 8th of July, is that correct?
I think so. Yes.
And the materials would be then due on the 1st?
Correct, Leah?
It's definitely the 8th, and we asked for them a week ahead, but there would be the holiday in there, so just check the chart that's on our webpage.
Okay. Yeah, so I'd like to request a continuance for the 8th for now. I think we should be able to get the updated plans in time and go from there.
Yep. And if you can't make that date, you can just simply request a continuance. So,
Excellent.
all right, that sounds good. So, I will open it up to the public. I don't think we have much public on hand, Jan, but I would just open that up in case anyone has any questions. And just that this is going to be continued to July 8th. Since we're not getting any responses, or not getting anyone coming to our meetings, which is just fine. Do I have a motion to continue this hearing to the 8th of July?
So moved.
Second.
That's great. We'll do a roll call vote. Amira, you get to vote first.
Yes.
Jonathan
Yes.
and Travis.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Good luck, and let us know.
Thank you.
Hopefully, we have to, from my perspective, because we have that ongoing condition, we have to be very careful, and this has to be a unique circumstances for us to go back and change something that a previous commission did. There has to be reasons behind it. So that's what that's what I'm looking for. But everyone on the commission needs to make their own decisions. So
Understood. No, appreciate the transparency, and we'll make those changes, and then hopefully that's sufficient to get us there. So thank you,
All right.
everyone.
thank you.
Have a good night.
All right, Leah, anything else?
That's all I have.
You don't want me to reread any of the old I'm
Nope.
sorry. I can't even that is sad that when you said it, I was like, yeah, I read it, but I can't.
I couldn't pinpoint it either. That's why I figured rather than go through it for 45 minutes and then have Jan be like, "Oh, by the way."
No, that's absolutely fine. You know what? So it gets read in twice. Who cares? And if I did it and if I missed it, then whatever. So it is what it is. That's absolutely
Okay.
fine.
You'll have to let us know when you're doing meeting minutes if Sandy was right or if we were right. I think there's now we need to know.
Yeah. And to be quite honest, you know what? It doesn't hurt my feelings if you come back and say, "Well, she forgot to do it." It is what it is.
I could be wrong too. I was looking at the NOI and some of the plans and everything, and I didn't hear it, and that's why I brought it up.
Yeah. No, I'm at an age where I can let things go. They don't bother me so much. So all good. All right, Leah. Is there one thing left to do?
You got it.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I move to adjourn.
All right, we have a
Second.
motion in a second. So roll call vote. Jonathan,
Yes.
Travis,
Yes.
Amira.
Yes.
I am also a yes. The motion carries. So if you really want to get into this, Amira, I am always happy to let people lead the meetings.
I'm not ready for that yet.
I can't
I'll
read all
practice.
of the stuff and think about it.
I have to practice just talking in general a little more.
That's okay. I mean, yeah, it's just I have the advantage that I've been in so many public hearings from my job. So, you know, it's kind of second nature to me because that's part of what I do. I can't imagine if I didn't do that on a regular basis, having to come on a some sort of board or commission and all of a sudden be in front of people and have to talk about things that, let's face it, we are all like volunteers. We're not experts. Like when you get into certain parts of like the wetlands, delineation, stuff like that. I know about it, but I am not an expert. There are lots of things I have no clue on. And it's, you know what you know. And I think the bigger part of it is just thank you for, spending of your own time to help democracy. And that's what we're doing here. It's on
Yeah.
the local level, which is the most important level. So that's my little, soapbox kind of thing. So
Oh, thank you. We're doing
Yeah.
awesome stuff here.
absolutely trying to be fair, trying to just do what the regulations say. So cool.
Leah, could I ask one thing? You mentioned last time that there was that Bill. So Bill is done, correct?
Yeah. We have
So the new one.
they should be appointing somebody tonight.
Okay.
We meet at the same time as the select board, so he's on the agenda though for appointment tonight. His name's Noah.
Okay. And you had mentioned his background.
He has an environmental policy background. I forget
Okay.
if his current work is in that field or if his degree was in that field. I can't remember.
It's okay. That's okay. As long as you're enthusiastic and want to learn and you're willing to show up, then I think that's great. And you can learn as you go. So, all right. Other than that, we're done.